I'm going to start the meeting in a minute. And Wanda's on her way. Right. Yes, you do. Can I say for somebody else? You may sit here. Okay, I'm gonna start. So wait a minute, we have a echo. Hello? Okay. So there's no echo now? Okay. I'm going to start the meeting at 4 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order. So, hold on. So we're calling this meeting to order at 4 o'clock. I'm going to call roll call. Our new Conservation Committee liaison, Marianne Plunder, is here. MJ Lee is here. Wanda Jenner is here. I am Jennifer Hammer. I am here. Okay, first item on our agenda is oral communications for items not on the agenda. And I want to start by expressing this committee's deepest sympathy to those who have lost their homes and their loved ones in the terrible wildfires that are taking place in LA. I also want to express our gratitude to all the firefighters who are risking their lives to battle this fire. As most of you know, many Bay Area firefighters have joined this fight. You are all in our thoughts and prayers. I think I speak for everyone when I say that the images we have seen over the last few weeks are shocking and distressing. And on a happier note, it's kind of difficult to be on a happier note, but we are thrilled to welcome Marianne Plunder as our new Conservation Committee liaison. Marianne is a voting member of this committee. You probably all know Marianne. She has a very long history of service in Portola Valley, and we just welcome you. With every fiber of this committee's being, we welcome you. Okay, are there any other open communications that are not on the agenda? For the committee? No? Okay, no one. Is there anyone online that has any open communications? Okay, we'll move on. Item 3 on the agenda, approval of the minutes for October 16th. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second? I'll second. And then, Marianne, you can't vote on this, but can I have a show of hands for members who were at the meeting? Okay. 3 members approved. That's a majority. So those minutes are approved. So items 4A and B, I'm combining because they're all involving the fire marshal. So Kim's going to give her updates as well as, and I may have this wrong, but I was told it'll be a tutorial video to demonstrate the defensible space inspection program. So Kim, the floor is yours. I wonder if this is what it's. Uh-huh. Okay. Oh. Boom. This is new.
All right. Well, good afternoon. Happy New Year, everybody. It's been Obviously, we all know it's been a very challenging start of our year we've had to kick it off for 2025. As what Jennifer has already stated with what's been going on, it's amazing how these types of incidents not just impact the people that are actually going through it, but it impacts the whole state. And it's a big impact to every jurisdiction, every city, every town, especially those who live in a WUI area like us, because it raises a lot of concerns, wonder. And I'm not going to talk on this too much because I really want to get into the tutorial, but I just want to put the message out that this, again, because these keep happening, this is not the first, it's not the worst, and it's not the last one in the state. I think people forget that we've had many devastating fires in California, and I have to say each one is devastating when we're including the loss of the structures and mainly people's lives. There have been wildfires for hundreds of years that have destroyed many acres, but those weren't regarded as being as devastating because structures and people weren't involved. So it's a completely different game, and it kind of drives home to reminding us the importance here in this area that we have a lot of work to do, and we have to keep pushing forward, and we need to prepare ourselves. We need to prepare our homes. We need to prepare our community. And these are all important information that I want to touch on a different meeting, because I do have some information from the fires and pictures and using it as a comparison and a training tool for how we've written the ordinance and how we're doing home assessments, because I'd like to tie it all in together to show how homes survived there and how homes did not and why. So it would be a great study to do. So I'll keep you all updated when that more information is coming up so we can schedule one of the committee meetings to do that type of workshop at that point. So just a quick report on the fire stuff. Our strike team was deployed over a week ago, and they went down south to help. The strike team included not just Woodside, but it was an engine from Menlo, Redwood, Central County, San Bruno, all of them put together, become a strike team. 4 of our personnel staffed the engine plus 1 of our strike leaders, and they all headed out. And from what they say, things have slowed down a little bit in the last few days, which is a good sign. And they're all doing okay. Hoping that it was a 2-week deployment, so hopefully they'll be coming back by early next week. The home assessments have been going not as well as we were hoping, mainly because most people are not home when we do the home assessments. And so we leave door hangers. The door hangers let people know, sorry, we missed you. Please give us a call so you can schedule your home assessment, and we can schedule it when you're home. It gives homeowners 10 days to respond. We have found that we have left around 160 of these door hangers, and of those, only 5 people have called. It's been a few months since some of them have called. So what we did was, in this upcoming week, homeowners are receiving a notification by mail that basically states that you have 10 days to contact us to schedule your home assessment. Otherwise, you'll be found in non-compliance with our ordinance. And to avoid further enforcement actions, please give us a call so we can get this done. Otherwise, enforcement actions, you have 10 days. If we don't hear from you in 10 days, we will start enforcement actions, which people have asked, what does that mean? That means that there's a few ways. Either, I'm not tree removal, but as far as like limbing up, laddering fuels, removing dead, dying debris, stuff like that, we can go in and start abating the property, making sure that it meets ordinance requirements. And that would include zone 0. So I don't think people want us on the property with contractors to abate zone 0, but you have to be in compliance. We want to work with homeowners. We don't want to go down that route. So we're hoping that that's not the case. Our ordinances are really clear on what the enforcement action is, but it can go all the way up to being charged with the misdemeanor and jail fines. So, I mean, that's really extreme. And again, not where we want to go. So, but if we have to, we will have to push that envelope if we don't get people to comply. We're still in finishing up the first 4 zones, which we're in the Woodside of zones 1, 2, 3, and 4 of doing the home assessments. We've completed close to around 800-ish of our inspections, which is nowhere near the 2,000 that we were hoping to get to. We also didn't start because the ordinance got adopted late. We really didn't start till July, so that was not a lot of months to get us going. So we are still continuing. We are not starting on zones 9, 10, 11, or 12, which is the other end of Portola. We're not starting those until we finish 1, 2, 3, and 4. We just don't have the staff to be able to break up both. So until we finish the 4 zones, then we'll be moving on to Portola Valley. I will keep everybody updated as we move along. One thing we are excited to announce for 2025 is we now have an e-notification system on our website. So that's where you sign up, you put in your email. So when we do send updates like, hey, we're going to be starting on zones 9 through 12 now. Every communication we have, we're going to be posting on our website, and people will get those notifications live of everything that's going on in the district, whether it's any press releases, any new news that we're getting, everything we get, you select which things you want to be notified about. Along with what we're launching in 2025, we are also going to be publishing a monthly public education newsletter. On that newsletter has a lot of tips and resources about different things going on every month and things to be aware of and where to go for different types of information. We are also going to be releasing a quarterly newsletter, and this newsletter is actually going to be called the Fire District Newsletter because it's going to be everything going on in the district, from our training division, our operations division, our prevention division. So all our divisions kind of giving information out there for our residents to know everything that we are doing as a district, how we prepare, how we train, just so everybody has a little look into what the fire district is doing. We are still struggling and trying to find best avenues of communication to residents. We've done social media. Now we have this e-notification on our website. We've done mailers. The e-notification is really my hopes to really build it up if we can get everyone to sign up, because I feel like email is the best way. We've done mailers and majority of people are like, I never got it. I don't know. So the mailers just aren't working. And frankly, it costs a lot more money. So we're trying to get away from that. We are making announcements on social media. We are utilizing the AM radio for Portola Valley for emergency broadcasting only that plays on a loop. For example, when we were doing the red flag warnings, we did record red flag warnings, the times, the dates, the reasons, very short messaging on the AM radio that we did put out. Selena made that recording for us. We did have signs out for red flag warning with information. We did touch to our contractors about not doing work on red flag warning days. We put out flyers. We did a lot of outreach on red flag warnings because we really want to make sure that people become aware of what that means, and also for them to have all the resources and tools they need to follow what those rules actually are, especially for the contractors. We also would like to talk about our new change in the chipper program. So we are changing our chipper program coming to 2025. We have our fuel mitigation division that does all the chipping, but they also handle a lot of the right-of-way work on our evacuation routes. They're doing work on Highway 84 right now. They're up at Skyline. So in order to make our chipper program as successful as it is, we will be requiring for residents to make a reservation for their pickup service. So basically what this does is you make your reservation, it goes into the system. As soon as we create the event means your chipper day. It'll get released on what your day is. You'll get it 30 days, a notification via email or text. You have the option when you sign up if you want to receive text also. And you'll get notifications saying, hey, your chipper day is going to be whatever date. And that'll come to you 30 days prior to your chipping day. And then you'll also get a reminder 7 days before again to remind you that it's coming up. Our website has all the new program information. It also has the link. It's really simple. You basically click on make a reservation. It asks for your email, your name, your phone number, And if you want to receive text messages, that's it. And then you go into the fireside system, which is the same system we use for the home assessments for the defensible space. If we do a home assessment at your home and the chipping date is coming up, it'll print on your home assessment report. At the end, it says your chipping date is scheduled for whichever date. So that is a big change coming on. Please check out our website, gives you all the information and as to why. That's all I have for all the major updates of what's going on. And with that, I'm going to move into.
Can we ask questions
Oh, sure.
before you
Yes,
start?
yes, I'm ready. Yeah.
So does anyone on the committee have a question? Go ahead, Marianne.
What I was wondering, do you have any data yet in Woodside with your inspections? What is prevalent in the fire zone 0 to 5? Do you have any data?
Yes, yes. So like, do you mean,
What are they planting?
oh, no, not details for that. No, no. Yeah, because we're not plant specialists, so we would have no idea what to even.
No, I mean, do they have flammable stuff there? Or is there a lot of flammable stuff?
Oh, I
from
see,
that
I see.
perspective?
Yes, we could, because it depends on how detailed the inspector is with that. Usually some inspectors will mark that they have vegetation, hazardous vegetation in zone 0. Then there's little icons that shows like a little wheelbarrow or a pickup truck or a big like U-Haul truck. If they mark those, kind of designates how much fuel load there is, and that we didn't make that a requirement. So they did not, some inspectors do, some inspectors don't. It was more that they had flammable vegetation in zone 0. I can say from what we've done in inspections so far, the amount that people have is really not that much, thankfully. What it is, it's they might have 20 things on their that we tell them, but it's really only 3 things, because the 20 things was like, you need to limb up all 10 of your trees kind of thing. So seems like a long list to them as we're verbally telling them. But on the fireside report, it only says limb up your trees, because it's a generalization. We're not going to list every single tree. We're just saying you need to limb up all your trees. But I can say that most of them are not anything really significant. There's a few that might have a dead tree, but we have been really happy to see that it's like, okay, these are all manageable things. These aren't what people's fear was, having these really big, large ticket items that they have to get done. And so they have been overall been going well.
MJ?
So actually, a resident asked me, and then I looked at the website. They asked, when is Portola Valley actually scheduled? And I looked at the website for the inspections, and it doesn't really say when the different zones are. Can you guys add that to your website?
It only, yeah, because I think it only says for 2024, it said zones 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Right.
Yeah, so we could add the rest of them, because, well, we kind of don't know, because we're just kind of getting through the list. So
Yeah.
roughly the zones 9, 10, 11, and 12 will be sometime mid to end of this year is what we're projecting, if everything goes well, is when we'll get started on that end of Portola Valley.
Oh, so.
And then 4, 5, and 6 won't even be till 2026.
Oh, okay, because I think the last time you told us, you said that Portola Valley was going to be last, so that's not true. then,
Well, they
is it?
are, just where the central part is going to be last, and then because Woodside only has 4 zones. The way they're spaced
Oh.
out is different than Portola Valley. So they are kind of technically going last, but we're doing the furthest out end, like the ranch, all that area, Ladera, kind of a lot of unincorporated areas are going to be this year with some of Portola Valley. And then 4, 5, and 6, which is the heart of Portola Valley, will be in 2026.
Okay. And then someone else asked me, when people get the inspection and they don't have the vents, ember resistant vents or 1/8 inch mesh, does that become a requirement of the ordinance or?
No, so
Okay.
the only requirements is what is in the ordinance, which is really all fuel mitigation. Anything to
Yeah.
do with your structure are recommendations. But there is no requirement. It's like you should have it if you want to protect your home. Not to mention if you're coming up for insurance renewals, because then insurance becomes a sticky thing too. So, but those are the recommendations we make are for your structure hardening.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. So first, just to boost your morale, I always cite that Oakland Fire Safety Council report on enforcement they did after their big fire. And they did a whole enforcement strategy, and they found that after the first full enforcement cycle, you get like 90 to 100% compliance. So it's just going to be tough the first cycle. So
And you know,
we're all-
and sad to say with that, given this fire going on, our call volume for scheduling home assessments have gone up a lot because of what's going on in the South, which is a great thing, but I hate to think that that's what's the motivating factor, but it kind of is.
Now, I thought you weren't doing home assessments because you were waiting until your
No,
zone
only the
came up.
ones in the zones, in zones 1 through 4,
Okay.
the people who are calling to get theirs done.
So so all of these zones you're doing enforcement now are in the Woodside area. Have you worked with the Woodside Town Manager on trying to get them to notify residents they have to respond?
No, because it's not really. They could in support with us. And let me back up. We're not in enforcement completely yet, except for the people, the door hangers. Everybody else, they're still, when we hit June or July, that's when enforcement starts for the people we already have done assessments for. Because they'll be up. We're sending out courtesy letters reminding people we're 6 months in. You should be, we're halfway through the year. You got 6 more months to comply. Hopefully you're making progress through the year that you've been doing work at your house. But no, it's something certainly we can discuss with the town manager, but we just haven't, only because it's really not their thing. I mean, they're looking for overall town safety, but that's kind of falls under our responsibility.
Well, when you get to Portola Valley, I'd like to think this committee can help at least get an article in the TV newsletter or get some emails going to tell people they really do have to pay attention to this. So you have a new email list. You have a new sign up for the chipper program. You have a new email list to send out notices in a newsletter. Is that going to be something that if I've already signed up in the past for other things from the fire district, you automatically have me? So all of this is ground zero.
All this is ground zero. When the new website was developed last year, I just implemented the e-notification system into our new website in December to have it. So we started launching it. Happily, we already have 130 people who have already signed up, which is great. As soon as you go to woodsidefire.org's website, there's a red banner at the top that says sign up re-notification. Just click it and fill it in and you're done. And then every time we send some kind of update or information, we push it out to all the people who've signed up.
So you can't even use those other email lists to notify people that they have the option.
No, we didn't even have a database where there's even existed. So I'm not sure
Wow.
where or what those lists ever were or went or what have you. We don't have anything that people ever signed up for the fire department that's stored anywhere, I should say. So I have no idea where that there is no database. We didn't have one.
So MJ, can that be a tip?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Oh, I
Thank
have
you.
One more.
Go ahead.
No, it's just left my mind.
Okay. Is anyone, while she's thinking, does anyone in the room have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
I'll repeat the question.
So we can't hear the question if we're on. Zoom.
I'm gonna repeat it for her. So Lori asked if the way we broke up the district for our inspection zones, if those correlate to anything other than just that we created. And so those zones, we broke them out just for inspection zones only. They're really more to be able to tell people when there's inspection is coming up, as well as assigning that zone to the inspector who's going to be in charge of that area. So that was the whole development of it.
Okay, I remembered my question. So you said that you sent out notices or something to contractors asking them not to work on red flag warning days. What kind of contractors are you talking about? All, like all building or just
So
landscape?
what we
or-
did was because, well, so what we did because we were behind the 8 ball on doing any kind of education on that earlier. Now we're prepared, but from the last 2 red flag warning days, what we did was we created a flyer specific to construction sites. So contractors that were actively doing work at construction sites, all the construction sites in the district. When our inspectors were going out to do inspections, they were giving them flyers as reminders, hey, we're in a red flag warning, that you cannot be powering any kind of power tools. And so we gave them all those details. We also put up those flyers at both towns. So when contractors go in for their applications, permits, whatever, we put them on those boards. We also put them at both at Bianchini and both Robert stores on their boards that they have, because we know a lot of contractors go there to eat. So we wanted to make sure we put that information out. Now, moving forward on our permits, when people apply for a fire permit, once they get approval, they are getting a disclaimer on their permit that states the requirements of red flag warning days, so that they are getting educated from the get-go before we even have a red flag warning day. We're providing that information. So now we're going to be catching all those.
How do you inform the chainsaw and the chip or whatever weed whack people?
You mean like the gardeners?
Yeah.
The gardeners, they're a different challenge. With them, it's as we're out and about, if we see gardeners, so we have the flyers in our car so that if we come across the gardener, we just stop. Hey, just so you know, you probably do a lot of work here. Here's this. Know that when we're in red flag warning days, you need to abide by these rules. So that's a challenge. We're hoping that the signs we're putting up, because we're ordering more. We have 4 right now, but we put them in the entry locations into the district. So over on Woodside Road coming in off of 280, we had another one kind of where Kenyatta Road was. We had another one at Ladera Shopping Center. So as you're coming up from on Alpine Road, and then we had another one here at this 4-way. We're hoping, and we're going to be putting up more signs, is that people are seeing them and that we're in red flag warning and that they follow those rules. We're also adding to tune into the 1680 AM radio station on our new signs that we order, as well as the QR code that directs people if they want to get more information on what red flag is and what does it mean for them to go to those sites. So those are some of the new implementations we're doing with those.
Yes, go ahead.
I'll repeat her question after she asks. Yes. So I have Serena Simmons from the Sequoias. Okay, so she has a question on what zones you're in. Would you like me to answer that first? So the way you know your zone is you type in your address and then it'll go into the map and it pulls up where your zone is. So you need to go into our website where the home assessments are, and there's a search bar to enter your address, and then it drops a pin to your location on the map. Genesis Protect. This is very different. Nothing to do with that, correct? This is specific for inspections only. I'm getting questions from because for example, things like humidity are not considered to be hazardous plants from a fire basin. They're broad leaves, they're the list from Grant County, Catholic as fire resistant fires or something like that. So the question is about hazardous vegetation in zone 0, but also giving an example like the camellia plants, which is not readily known as a hazardous plant. It's more on the fire resistive side. How does that get handled in zone 0? So zone 0 literally says no hazardous vegetation. If you are, so there's two ways. To be in compliance with our ordinance, you can have approved fire resistive or vegetation in zone 0 that's for ground covering, if it's well irrigated. So there are some exceptions in the ordinance, and the reason that was put into the ordinance was basically to soften the approach on getting acclimated to what zone 0 is. So when we go out to do those inspections, what we tell people is we have two approaches. We'll tell you what you're in compliance in, but then we'll tell you what insurance is looking at and that you most likely will not get reinsured or what the insurances are wanting to see. With part of plants though, if your plants, we will not allow, if you have plants where it's not a hardened home, meaning there's a window, you have open eaves, you have wood shake roof, let's say, that's the side you don't want to have plants in zone 0. You just created your whole vulnerability, regardless of what kind of plant it is, unless you are 100% vigilant of never having dry leaves near it or underneath it or within it. But that doesn't happen. That's not realistic. So one of the things that the ordinance talks about is, of it being less than, the ordinance doesn't really say this, but our standards and guidelines for this to assist homeowners was plants under 18 inches, so long as it's not above or near windows, so that it's far away from a window. The camellias, and like other plants, is a big undertaking for a lot of homeowners, but ultimately we're trying to accomplish the no vegetation in zone 0 will be the ultimate goal. But if you do have small, low growing plants that are non-flammable, like not hazardous, listed as non-hazardous, and you don't have a window or anything that creates an exposure and a vulnerability to your house, those have been okay. Under 18 inches though, we don't want big plants in the zone 0.
So any other questions, either questions from online participants? Okay, I think you can move on.
Okay, so I am going to share my screen. Okay, sure. Okay, so when we go out and do your home assessment, we take down your email address. When we take down your email address and we complete your report, within 48 hours, you're going to receive an email. Your email is going to be this. It's going to say from Defensible Space Report, info@Woodside Fire. It's going to have this information. It tells you that this is your defensible space evaluation is now ready to look at. You're going to click here, but make special note. This right here, this unique code is a unique code to the resident. That is unique to your address. And that is how it stays, if you will, confidential, because every address is unique. And this is a code. Without this code, you can't access your report. So you would click on this, and then this would take you to, sorry, I have to stop sharing in order to switch screens. It won't let me switch. Share that. That will take you to this screen. In this screen, you're going to put in your address. I'm going to be using Portola, our office, because it's just the one that has the most of everything. We use it as our testing site. And then here you're going to enter that unique code, which I have to look at. So let's see. So you'll enter your address, you'll enter that code. And then let's just hypothetically say you couldn't find your code or you need help. If you submit a request here, that'll send an email to our info@woodsidefire.org email, and you can ask whatever it is you need. You can also select that even if you had a question about your current report, or if you wanted to schedule a home assessment, that submit a request is pretty much any type of communication you want to have about home assessments that connects you directly to the fire department. So then you would hit enter. You'll get this little screen that takes you to this, because if you don't have an account and it's your first time, you're going to fill in all this information. So I have an account, so I'm going to try and see if it'll just take it anyway. So you'd put in your info. Oh. Yeah, I was just hoping it would take. So I already have an account, so it won't take it. But if you didn't, it's your first time, you'd put in your email, your password. I'm just going to log in for the sake of continuing on with the demonstration. I think this would be funny if it just all of a sudden does not decide to work. Huh. There we go. Yes, I must type too fast. Okay. Oh no, this. And then you're going to select, so you'll go through the prompts, and then you're going to select access report. And then here is your report. This is your property summary page. It has your address, your parcel number, when the evaluation was done, and by whom. You'll get a number here of 3 noted violations, or even things that they found that they noted. And there's nothing home hardening, because we don't do the home hardening at 808. We just try to focus on defensible space. Anyhow, you'll get this information down below. It kind of just plots out your map of what your parcel looks like. These are just small little details to read through. But as you go through your report, so now we have our report. Now I want to see what it is. Couple of ways. You have this side navigation tool here for different options, or you could just review issues. So I'm just going to go to review issues. You can filter however you want. You can change if you want to just see certain zones. Otherwise, it's just going to default to selecting everything. These are just random photos just for the sake of demo. But normally what you would see if they notate, so wood or wicker furniture may be vulnerable. They'll put a picture of that here. It'll say why it's vulnerable. It'll give you a reason as to why it's a risk. And then if you wanted details of exactly to see where it was that we found that specific item, you'll see these plotted points, and those are the locations where we found exactly the wood or wicker furniture where it was observed. You'll get some information, and then in the blue box, you will get our direction on what to do with this violation. So here you'll see it says recommendation only, not required by code. So like that home hardening question that you had, MJ, on the vents, we would have information about changing it, but it'll say recommendation only, not required by code. And then we also have a link. Fire Safe Marin is an amazing site. I always encourage everyone to go there. They have had great grant money and measures to help them create a robust website. And I use it all the time. It's how I've educated myself a lot. So we put that here so you can go there if you want to have, they have ideas of how to do zone 0. What are the things you should be doing in zone 0? How to do a smart landscape, all sorts of information. So it's great. Anyway, so let's move forward. So now I see this problem. And now I want to go to my correction lists. So this is just to view. Let me make that clear. This is just to view. This is not where you're going to correct anything. You're going to go, once you go through everything that's wrong, and you go through all these items, 1, 2, 3 items, whatever they are, you're going to go to this correction checklist. This correction checklist lists what you have, and then you're going to want to go through here and resolve it. You will always see a list of everything you've completed. So let's say you have this long laundry list. Well, as you go through and keep fixing things, they're going to fall off your report, but you'll always see them here under the completed, all the work that you've done. If you submit something for us to review, once you upload your pictures, which we'll go through that, it'll come up here in the pending review. And until we approve it, it'll sit there. Once we approve it, then it drops down to the completed. So now we're ready. Let's say we moved the wicker furniture. We're going to resolve. We're going to add the photos. The photos have to be any kind of JPEG or any photos of that. It can't just be, it can't be a Word document or anything like that. So it actually has to be actual pictures. So I'm just going to upload a random picture. Just do that one. And you can do as many pictures. I think it's up to 5 that you can do for each item. Let's say you're like, oh, it's the wrong one. I messed up. You can always click the X. It'll delete it. You can upload whatever you need to. So then you'll enter the amount of money you spent resolving the issue. So let's just say, $500 or maybe nothing. Like in this case, if I removed a wicker furniture off my patio, maybe it didn't cost me anything. But if it did, you would put in your amount, how much time you spent, an hour, and then any notes you'd want to provide about anything. Even if you said, these were multiple trees that were completed on all my property, the main important thing I want to highlight is with every item, you want to make sure you put a picture that goes with that item. So if we have let me cancel this really quick. You want to have a picture for each one of these items. Now, since let's say this was limb up trees, limb up trees, limb up trees, you have to submit a picture for each one of those items and match our picture. So you'll see on your side, you'll have on this here, exactly the picture we took of the tree and area. And then you want to make sure that you take a picture of it being gone or limbed up or whatever, because if we can't tell from the picture, because of sake of time and efficiency, we don't want to schedule a reinspection to come back to look at something you already did the work to try and do a picture, but we couldn't tell from the picture, so we now have to visually go see it. So please be diligent on making sure you're doing the area from which we took photos of so that we can match them up. You can't just link all the pictures onto one thing and go, yeah, here they all are, and it's for all these items, because it'll be hard for the inspector when they're reviewing to know which tree goes with which and what area, especially when it's been fixed and cleaned up. It's very hard to tell. So let me just complete this one. So you'll resolve, you'll add your photo. You'll put your dollar amount, your time, thank you, whatever you want to say. And then you'll submit for review. Once it's in for review, you'll see here wood furniture vulnerable. That's up for review. I'm going to show you what our side looks like. I think it's nice to see what we see. So when we're in, we have multiple ways of looking, but We get notified by, there's an area that's called activity and it says resident updates. So you could see under the resident update, Kim uploaded 808 Portola. So I could see, oh, this resident on January 15th, they updated their property. They did something. Let's see what they did. So then I'd go in and I would do review. And this is where I would find this is not complete because this is just our property. But normally here, you would see the photo that we took, and then you would see the photo that you uploaded, inspection photo, resident photo. So now we can compare the two and we will know that that was corrected. We'll look at it. Now, if we want to send you back a comment, we can enter comments here. If we wanted to add a document or something to send back to you, we also have the option to do that. We would mark here, okay, this person sent me what they did. I'm going to say that this has been corrected. We have all these different options. We can say we resolved online review. There's so many different ways to go about it. And then this one is completed. So once that's done, then on your side, let me refresh this. It's no longer in pending review and now it's been dropped into this completed list. So that one's been completed. Any questions so far? Okay, Marianne.
What role, if any, will a report like that play with insurance evaluation?
It's up to a resident if they want to use it to show to the insurance company and say, hey, here's, so two highlighters, because it is something, if you live in an area where there is an ordinance like we have, it's a very strong tool to tell your insurance, well, we have an ordinance that we have to abide by that is this. So that's one tool. But you can also show them, fire department came through, here's my report. This is this is all the work I've done. You know, you could present it however you want. You can print this up, give it to them, however you want. Once you have this report, it's yours to do with whatever you want to do with it. Now, I can't say anything. I don't have experience yet to know if insurances have looked at them and said anything. I have no idea. I don't know if residents have shared them before. I don't know. So I don't have that information. Hopefully in the next coming years, we'll get something once these really get going and, you know, people are utilizing them more. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll be a positive tool for them. But just know that this is a live report. It will never go back to what originally you started with. It's always going to be dropping off, or like if we go out for a reinspection and we see something else, we'll add to it or remove whatever it is. Now, also make note that you won't have a clean inspection report for recommendations. Recommendations will stay there until recommendations are completed. So all your home hardening things under these issues, if we found home hardening issues, they're going to stay there until you're done. It doesn't mean it's a bad report. It doesn't mean you're in any kind of violation. It's just going to stay there until you change your vents, until you change your windows, until you change your roof. It will always be there. That's just part of the report. It's a living document. It's always representing what we're visualizing when we're there.
Any other questions from people in the schoolhouse? Questions online? I can't see your hands raised, so if you have a question, go ahead and ask it. Okay, why don't you go on?
Okay, last thing to show. So you have these different areas. You have defensible space, home hardening. That's where we'll list anything that we recommend to harden your home. There's also an area called resilient. We also notate all the positive findings, whether it's home hardening or positive defensible space we find in your house. Like if you have, you know, the type of decking material, or if you have your deck that is screened off, we notate all those different things. We even note if you have a Knox box on your property. We note if you have propane tanks. We note if you have a fire alarm system, a sprinkler, so whatever it is, we notate a lot of that information on the site. So you'll find those items listed in resilient. And that might be a good tool for insurance, because insurances will be able to see the progress you've made to harden your home and the defensible space. So that's another tab there. This wouldn't apply to the Portola Valley residents, but there is a tab here for rebate programs. And that's for the two areas that do have incentive programs going. That's there for them to apply and go through their process. And then additional resources. We have listed here about, registering for SMC Alert, making sure that you download the Genesis app, the Genesis Protect app, know which evacuation zone you're in. If you're prepared, we have information about the Go Bag, a link to WPD Ready, and about becoming FireWise. This is where I was saying that if the chipper date was released, this is what you'll see, your upcoming free chipper day. And since we haven't released it, but you do have register for your pickup. So you can go through the prompts to register for your pickup. You'll go into a list. And then once we release a date, you'll be notified by email or by text. Here you can print or download the report onto your computer. If you wanted to email it to someone and save it, you have that option. Your profile and your account properties, and then you can log out. So I recommend to bookmark your page because this is only for you and it will always be the same link, same code, everything. Bookmark it, easy for you to find. You can always refer to your report. So you're not going through this whole, I got to find the email. Just bookmark it to your computer is a great idea. That way you always have access to it. That's it in a nutshell. Any questions?
No questions from the committee? That's a record. That's never happened before. Any questions from the schoolhouse? Any questions from anyone online? Thank you,
My pleasure.
Kim. It is just such a privilege to always have you here, and we really appreciate the time.
Thank you. I'm happy you always invite me, so I'm happy to come.
Great.
Oh, just a couple of plugs.
We do have a question.
Oh, okay.
Oh. yeah. Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
Okay, just 2 plugs I forgot to add in my update. WFPD Fire has partnered with the town of Woodside. It was inspired by Councilmember Dick Brown on starting an older adults program for fire safety and fall prevention. So we are doing our very first workshop tomorrow at Independence Hall at, I think it's at 1:15. Let me double check. But it will be tomorrow. It'll be a series. We're going to start with an overall of the program. We're going to be doing workshops throughout the year and announcing them. But the first one's going to mainly cover fall prevention. And then the next one will go into more fire safety. But it is open to everybody, even though they're sponsoring, but it's open to everybody. It's at 3:00 tomorrow. So if anybody wants to go to that, and that's all I have for now. Thank you.
And then as far as the next agenda, so I know you said you have a presentation you want to give comparing what's happening in LA right now to our area. So do you have a deadline for that? Is a couple of months
I'm thinking
out?
more like March or April, only because I'll need
Perfect.
time to hook up with their fire marshal just to do some debriefing on stuff and some questions. At the same time, though, I have been working with getting in communication with Ventura County's fire marshal. We've been kind of missing each other. We just haven't been able to connect, but to discuss when they had their fire, because it was during the day and there were a lot of shelters in place. There was just, I wanted to see how that panned out, especially for the schools that were sheltering in place, how that worked for parents, just kind of the overall of their experience on their evacuation, all that kind of stuff. So it's, that one it was a different type of fire than what is going on at the Palisades, but nonetheless, a lot of lessons to be learned of how things work. So I would like to use both of them to kind of bring together to create that presentation. So I'm thinking more March or April.
That's perfect. Okay, thank you. Oh, we do have a question.
I do have a question. This was extremely informative. Have you, or are you planning to do any kind of presentation to the community as a whole like this?
I would love to. I mean, if we could find a venue to do one thing I am doing is I finally created a YouTube account because I want to convert a lot of the workshops and everything to YouTube. So WFPD will now have a YouTube channel that people can follow and be able to watch all these different types of videos. But we're also going to be doing in-house videos where we're showing people how to do things, and even put redirected videos that are already in existence and put them in one place for people to be able to utilize if they're searching for something specific. So that's one platform I'm trying to use because as much as I enjoy doing workshops and presentations, I get a lot of them throughout everywhere. And to do so many all the time, I would like to just, if I can just do one and give it out to everybody would be fantastic. So good use of my time in that way. Even though right now everything is so new, I love meeting all the new faces. I like talking to people and just kind of being out in the community. But I do want to keep it as a resource for those people who don't get out. But if we ever had a venue that was a big venue where I could do a specific topic or a whole community-wide event, I would love to do that. I think the biggest we'll get is when we finally get to doing an evacuation drill where we actually run through the whole thing and we do a debrief at the end. That will probably be the largest scale that we'll have, hopefully with a lot of people participating in it. So keep an eye out for the next couple months to start getting more information. We're aiming to do it in May. So we're working on trying to get things planned for that.
There's a big meeting room at the Alpine Hills Club.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
What?
I wonder how many they can fit. I don't know how many they can fit. Okay, good idea. Yes, I like these ideas.
Okay.
Perfect.
Let us know how we can help.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to move on, if that's okay, to the next agenda item. It'll be 4C, update on Wildfire Preparedness Committee's final report and recommendation concerning decking surfaces and PB Ordinance 2022-447 space 79A.3 decking surfaces. So that was a mouthful. So MJ and our former committee member, I'm going to give Marianne a little bit of a background here. Dee Bailey, who was a contractor, and unfortunately she had to leave to go back to the East Coast, did a wonderful report on why we should modify this existing regulation and so to allow homeowners to be able to modify their existing wood deck using fire resistant materials. And the report, and we can send it to you, and it's in for anyone that's watching. This is on our website in our minute meetings. Current regulation doesn't really allow residents the option of materials so that you can actually update your current wooden deck with fire resistant materials. So this was done, I think, in March of last year. I submitted it to the current town manager, Sharif, and it took him a while because he was new to actually review it. Finally, he did approve it. And he approved it to go before the town council to take a vote. And then there was some communication and misunderstanding, I think more on his part about how that process worked. Because in the old days, you would always turn to the town manager and he would put things on the town council agenda, and that process seems to have changed. So Craig and I started working with that. And then when Sharif left, Craig asked me to start working with our interim town manager. And I have been trying to get this on the town council agenda, but the town council, bless them, are so busy. And I have about every month I send a little email, but they are really, really busy. So we have a new interim town manager, and I will start now trying to reach out to him. The report has been approved by the fire marshal. The report has been approved by the former town manager. I think this is just a question that everyone's busy. So the next time we meet, I'll have input. Any questions? Marianne? Wildfire. Yes. And we can send you, just send me an email and I'll send it to you. You don't have to hunt. Any other questions from the schoolhouse? Any questions from anyone online? Okay. So the next item for D. 4D? Yes, 4D is PV insurance change tracking form project process, progress report. Okay. So let me share my screen. Okay, so before I start this presentation, I want to give some background, especially because we have a new member. So we call this a tracking form because a survey is something you fill out once and then that's it. And this is a tracking form to be filled out multiple times. For example, if you have insurance you love today, you would fill out this tracking form and say, I love my insurance. They've never raised my premium in the 25 years I've had this insurance. I love it. Tomorrow, I know this is a fantasy, but let's say you have that. And then let's say your premium goes up tomorrow. You'd get back on this tracking form and you would say, my premium has increased and this is the information. And then in a week from now, you get a cancellation notice. You would get back on this tracking form and you would report that. So this is tracking the incidence of insurance change in Portola Valley. We have a 1-year timeline we've given this. We started in September. We'd like to end it in September, but if we're getting good data, I'm not opposed to extending that. The purpose of this tracking form is twofold. First, the post-housing element to-do list includes surveying or making sure that high-density housing or ADUs are not affecting insurance prices. And this form will check that box. It was designed to check that box. The second is the town manager, Sharif Edelman, who approved this, felt that one, the town council would like this information. And we are a town council committee, and that is our job to inform the town council. But second, he felt that depending on the results, it could be used to provide government representatives some concrete evidence of how insurance change might be affecting us. This was created by this committee. These questions were created by this committee. And we also debated these questions with residents for about 2 different meetings, and it was wild. So we had a lot of input. And I will say that the results of that survey, those survey questions trying to capture a lot of data and a lot of different range of creative responses has made the analysis a little more challenging, but it can be done. The original plan was to send a postcard to all residents to respond, and that has recently, we've been told that the town would rather not spend that money. So we've had low response. So very low response. So we've had 1 article in the PV newsletter, and then we're going to have another one this week. And then my plan is that, as you all probably know, a new insurance regulation passed last month that will allow insurance companies to use catastrophic modeling and to charge for reinsurance. And we always knew that we might see insurance premiums go up in the next few months. And now we have the LA wildfires. So my plan is that we're going to keep putting those news articles in the PV newsletter every month with some creative titles to get people's attention. And then as the concern about insurance may increase over the next few months, people will start talking, and we're going to start asking people in this article next week. We're asking people to tell their neighbors and their friends about this tracking form. I'm hoping that we can reach a 50% response rate. That is my goal. So in this presentation, you're seeing most of the data. When I got the first set of data, I created a sample report and I passed it on to this committee as well as the town staff. And when we actually saw the responses and the data, we said there were some concerns about resident concerns when all of the information was out there, because people have given us a lot of details about their situation. So you will not see, and so I was given the latitude by Carrie Chin and the former town manager to present what is very benign and cannot possibly cause any concern. And I tried to do that. And I think that's it. So everyone can see this. Okay. So the responses as of January 9th. So we've had 58 responses, which is about, and they came from 49 Portola Valley households. So that means 9 residents have responded more than once, have had more than one insurance change. That represents about 2% of Portola Valley. We had 40 different streets reporting. So out of those 49 responders, they all had 40 different streets. So we're not seeing a lot of incidents from, 3 streets. 56% of the responses were reporting home insurance non-renewal or cancellation. 10% were reporting premium change. So the others were reporting, I have insurance. Some of those people said, I had insurance and I'm okay with it. Some people said, well, I have insurance, but I have no fire insurance. I have insurance, but I've had to go to 2 different companies to get the insurance. I have insurance, but my agent says I'm not going to have insurance for long. So this is a kind of wide category, and I'm going to wait until I get a large data set, and I'm going to try to break it down into some kind of logical grouping, because there's so many. It's a very broad category of responses, and I have to figure out a way to approach reporting it. Absolutely no one reported that they had absolutely no home insurance. Okay, now that was one of the questions. So the insurance companies that were issuing non-renewal or cancellations. So we had 33 responses. AAA was responsible for 10 of those cancellations or non-renewals. State Farm 9. And then you see Farmers 3, Travelers 2, and then you had some smaller insurance companies. And you'll see this later. I think it was 58 of the people reporting a non-renewal or cancellation had not yet found a replacement policy. So of the people that were reporting, okay, I found insurance, this is who I found insurance with, I can't read my own graph. I think it says 9. 9 people found it through Fair Plan. So the overwhelming majority of people were finding the insurance through Fair Plan. I have no idea how 3 people got a new State Farm policy and or a new Farmers policy, but people are finding new policies once they're canceled with State Farm and Farmers. So we asked, how long had you had your insurance? Because we thought maybe if you've had your policy for a long time, they wouldn't cancel you. Not true. So the big blue 31% were people that had had their insurance for less than 5 years. And then 12% had had it from 5 to 10 years. And then 12% had had it 10 to 15 years. And all those other people had had it more than 15 years. Some people had had their insurance policy for more than 30 years and they got canceled. So it doesn't matter how long you've had your policy. So when we look at the information about the cancellations and the non-renewals, so the people were reporting cancellations and non-renewals all the way from January 2019 to December 2024. Because we wanted to capture 4 years of data. Most of the responses were in 2023 and 2024. There was just a few people that reported before then. I was very surprised by this. Almost 97% of the time, no on-site visit took place. And I was really just by the insurance company. So no insurance representative actually came to your house to look. 65.6% of the time, people answered no to the following question. Do you or your adjacent neighbor have an ADU, a guest house, a duplex, or do you live near some type of high-density housing? So with this small data set, we're not seeing any kind of statistical indication that it matters. And that is the answer. That is the question that is aiming for that housing element post checklist. So when we asked why, did they tell you why you were not renewed or canceled? Only 9 people answered. The answers varied a great deal, but they all were related to some kind of fire risk. My zip code. They're not insuring in this area. They said we had a lot of trees. Not in our house, but in our area. So it was a very general, somebody mentioned wildfire risk score. So, but not everyone was given a reason. 58% of the homeowners who had been canceled or not renewed had not found a policy. And homeowners that did find a new policy reported premium increases anywhere from 10% to a doubling of their insurance. No one said they found a cheaper policy. One person actually reported 300%. I'm not so sure. I also have to do some calculations because I have also found we gave the people the option to calculate their own percentage increase. And there is a lot of people in Portola Valley that don't know how to do that. So sometimes they gave me the amount that it was and the amount that it isn't. And sometimes they gave an answer that I'm not quite sure I understand. So on the topic of avoiding cancellation or non-renewal, 87.5% of the owners who were canceled or not renewed were not given any specific improvements they could make to avoid it. So out of our responders, 4 people were given something specific they could do. 1 person chose not to do it. I don't know what information they were given. They didn't tell me and they didn't do it. Of the 3 people that made the changes, there was somebody needed to create, to get a wildfire prepared certificate. Somebody needed to replace cedar shingles and somebody needed to remove trees near their house. Two of those people succeeded in not being canceled or not renewed. The person that was still canceled was the person that got the wildfire prepared certificate. I don't know if that's relevant, but it was interesting to me. And that's it. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Because I saw the big line with the AAA and with the AAA cancellations.
Oh, yeah.
And I assume you know why this is. Because I could tell you if you don't.
Sure.
Okay. So what has happened with AAA, and I forgot now if this was 2023, 2024, it was recent. Basically, everybody in Westridge who had a AAA insurance policy was canceled. And the consensus is that AAA said these houses are 10 plus or whatever $1 million houses. We're pulling out of that market. So this is just one thing that is very specific to house value and an area. So this report will probably change or might change very much if you get another one for the, whatever, 2025, where that skew with Westridge will be out. So that's just, it's very complicated.
Well, it's interesting because Westridge did not report that.
They didn't report.
No, so,
Oh, that's
so what you are
interesting.
seeing is not Westridge.
So that's in addition.
I think maybe one, but no.
Oh,
no,
that's very
no, no.
interesting.
So
So it's even
you should,
worse.
if you have the emails of those owners, I would ask you to see if they could get on and report it. And we are trying to not mention street names
No, of course not.
because people might be sensitive.
Yeah.
That it would lower their, so in the future, just say there is
I'm
a
not talking about
street.
the street. I'm talking about the
Oh,
area.
Westridge area.
I'm talking not about
Oh.
the street. No, no, no. I'm talking about the
Oh.
Westridge subdivision.
Well, then you should still send this out to them because I can't say,
I just
Oh,
know
okay.
because I talk to people.
'Cause
I don't, I can't do anything about
I
it.
would say that the responses we have gotten so far, I'm thinking of the streets, was not heavily weighted towards the Westridge area. It's a very diverse set of streets. And I would love every owner that reported to contact their owners, because I also had another person say, yes, I know that X number of cancellations happened on my street. And of course, none of those other people reported. So I know for a fact, there's a ton of people out there not reporting. So if you're watching this, if you know anybody, in Portola Valley, just email them and say, hey, let's start an email chain. Because we're very reluctant to use our safety captains for this kind of email chain, because that email list is for crime. And, we really don't have a way to get this information out. Please use this forum. So if anyone here does have a list of friends in Portola Valley that might have influence, I'd love you to send an email to say, fill out this form if you would like to know what's going on. Any other questions on that? No? Okay. So we're going to move on to subcommittees and committee liaison updates. Mary Ann, do you have any reports?
Yeah, although we didn't have a meeting in December because it's near Christmas. I think the relevant thing is, from a fire perspective, the Conservation Committee is focusing on the increased removal with town help and also with fire department help of Vitrichia and it's a never-ending difficult task. We have submitted something to the town which needs to go to the ASCC, where we hope it will be approved that with the checklist, when a construction site gets checked off, that the town will also check that the trachea and broom has been removed. Otherwise, they won't get they can't move in. Yes.
We have a question, or Kim's going to say something. Our fire marshal has got a comment here.
Just a comment. So in relation to that, all new construction that comes in, we have requirements for the removal of all hazardous vegetation. However, the only thing that we can stick to is within the 100 feet of the structure. We haven't been able to regulate the whole parcel yet. So that's where we're going to next. But we've got the 100 feet at least that gets all cleared out. So we are working on the whole parcel itself.
Kim, can you repeat the question for the people in the?
So there is no list. Our hazardous vegetation is everything that we deem can be flammable. So it follows the definition of flammability. So that's what's considered a hazardous vegetation, are plants that are flammable or a plant that would contribute to a conflagration or create a fire that would if a fire was going, that it would increase the intensity. All that falls under what hazardous vegetation is, which those plants do, except for I can never pronounce the word. Yes, that one. That one's more because of the hazards behind it for human and animal health. So we still consider that part of that hazardous side.
There is a list. There is a list. The Conservation Committee on the website has actually a list of hazardous, it's under the invasive flammable.
Correct, but 2401, there is no list because we don't list every single type of hazardous plant. There are so many out there. So anything deemed hazardous, it would fall under that. It doesn't have to be on, we don't have a list because we incorporate all hazardous vegetation.
Yeah, so we're focusing on those two because they are thankfully a fire risk. And so the town hopefully will actually have that checklist and then they'll, so that's the one thing. And then we are working, but that's really has nothing to do with fire. We are working on wildfire corridors and fencing. Although fencing is important because the less fences there are, wooden fences, the safer it is in terms of fire spreading. So that's really all at the moment.
And Nona would occasionally have a presentation, very occasionally, so feel free. You are a
Sure.
voting member of this committee. If you have a passion project or a passion topic,
I'll be
just
happy to do.
let's get it on the agenda.
Thank you.
Okay. So as we go to the mitigation subcommittee, I do want to say, I just got the email today, so I couldn't have a whole agenda topic, so we can't discuss it. But the town secretary has requested that the chairs of the Brown Act committees present before the town council the focus, to a 10-minute presentation of the focus of their committees. And we're going to talk at the end about our agenda that is on our in our agenda to talk about what we want to be doing over the next few months. But if we don't meet before that happens, I will be sending out to you what my thoughts are and what I'm going to present, and then what we will do it like we did with the safety element. Marianne, we are a very strict Brown Act committee. So there is never a group email where we discuss anything, including, if we're going to the Christmas party, we just never group email. So what I do though, is I email the members and I BCC everybody, and then you send your comments directly to me, so there cannot be any group discussion. And FYI, if someone asks you a question and you want to refer it to someone in the committee, you have to make really sure that you understand there's a buddy or one person you're directing that email to, because sometimes people will email us and they'll email you and they'll copy MJ and they'll copy me, and you cannot respond to that because now you got a conversation going. So we're just really focused. Okay. So anyways, with that in mind, MJ, does anything come to mind, not only about the mitigation subcommittee, but anything you have planned for 2025 that you want me to be thinking about?
No, I don't actually have anything planned since it's just me, and I'm still waiting for us to get another subcommittee or committee member.
Okay. And then finance and insurance subcommittee, Wanda, I think we are going to be concentrating on this insurance tracking form, and I don't think we're going to be trying to do another grant proposal, given you need money usually to match a grant. So, okay. So any questions on that before I move on to other topics? Okay. So other business agenda for next meeting. So yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have a report? I'm so sorry, MJ.
Well, I'm reporting on something I didn't do, so that's like the easiest thing to take credit for, right? So I just want to announce that we have another new Firewise community. It's actually shared with Woodside. It's called Old La Honda Area. They just got approved last week. I think Craig Taylor must be part of this group. I actually don't know who's in charge of this group, but it includes Skyline, Woodside Highlands, and Wyndham. I estimated that Portola Valley homes out of that group might be 180. I have no idea. Maybe Craig can correct me. But if so, if it's around 180, then that means our Portola Valley will have gone from 46% of all homes being firewise to 56. So, you know, we're making little progress here and there, and just want to thank Chip Swan and whoever was in charge of this. Oh, Craig's going to say something.
Well, I was just gonna add, so yeah, it's Wyndham, Wayside, Woodside Highlands, and Hayfield are the portion of that Firewise community that are in Portola Valley.
Okay, great. And do you know how many Portola Valley homes are in that group?
I don't, I mean, we could calculate it probably, but it, you know, it includes basically it goes down Portola, so it picks up the houses in Woodside that are along Portola Road, and then it goes up Old La Honda, and then it picks up a few houses like Grandview in that area. So that's kind of what the community looks like.
Okay. Yeah, if anyone, I made a update to my little spreadsheet that has the firewise.
Yeah, what I'd recommend is just ask Chip, because he can just calculate it directly out of the GIS database.
Yeah, I did ask Chip, but you know, he doesn't get up until 2 p.m.
On a good day.
Yeah. And then I just want to add one more thing is, you know, I was very concerned about what's going to happen with insurance costs and everything with the LA fires. And, also during the break, I had read, an article out of, I think it was out of Milliman, and they were estimating what insurance would cost, or what portion of it was due to reinsurance. And it looks like once reinsurance is included, our premiums could go up as much as 40%, according to this paper I read. And the other thing I did was after, over the weekend, I was trying to figure out how much insured loss are the insurers looking at. And so I did some numbers based on all the big fires recently since 2017. And just to get a comparison of how big the LA loss is compared to those other ones, I just made a little spreadsheet if anyone wants to see it. Yeah. So that's all I have to report.
So I just want to add that there's a lot of conversation about insurance and insurance prices. And it's going to be a wait until it happens. So there is someone behind the curtain. So let us see, let us see what happens. I don't think we know what's
No,
going to happen.
nobody knows.
So I don't want people to start, going to the brandy cabinet and start going, uh-oh, insurance prices are going to go up 40% because we said so. So, okay, we don't know. But thank you for doing this, and I will put this in my files. That is really striking. Can we put this in the minutes? Can we put this spreadsheet in the minutes so that? Okay, so
Let me
can
just
you
share.
project it? Because I think everyone would like to see these numbers because it's kind of, it's basically a table that's showing how much insured losses there are in the different fires and how many structures destroyed. And I think it's really interesting and alarming. You got it? Here we go. Okay, so everyone at home can make a screenshot.
Yeah, I don't know if I would put it in the minutes because, you know, these
Okay,
are
I agree.
my numbers. Well, that's true. I did this on Sunday and these numbers for Palisades and Eaton are way low now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think these are
But,
very conservative
yeah.
numbers.
You know, what was kind of interesting too is what? Yeah, sorry. 640.
Ooh,
Well, you know, actually in Palisades, there were like 200 or something mobile homes lost. So they're not all 10 million. So I didn't even know that they had mobile homes in Palisades. But anyways.
that would be a great discussion topic to just discuss that fire, but that's not on our agenda. That's not on our
Yeah.
agenda. Okay.
All right.
So unless there's any more questions, we're going to move on to agenda item 6. So currently, for the agenda for next meeting. So currently, I'm not going to have any update on this insurance tracking form for at least 3 months. Kim doesn't have anything for us for 3 months, and we're still waiting for the fire maps. That's going to be our next big, lovely item. Oh, yes.
Oh.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, because this is on the agenda. We are discussing agenda and when we're going to have the next meeting. So Kim, please fill us
can't
in on the fire maps.
Sorry, I get hesitant on certain things I say or don't say, but there's so much going on that until you say something, it sparks my memory. So with the fire maps, we received in November-ish, all fire marshals throughout the state of California who have WUI or may get WUI, received letters from the state fire marshal's office saying that the LRA maps are planned and scheduled to come out in January sometime. The last meeting we had with Chief Berlant, he had said that that is still the target date, is sometime in the month of January, but now given what's been going on with the fires, I'm imagining delays because a lot of people have been deployed, have been sent out. So staff has changed and the people dedicated and resources to get these done may be away on deployment. So I would think in the next 1 or 2 months, I don't think it's going to go much more than that. I mean, I'm really hopeful and positive only because there's been a lot of workshops, a lot of information that the State Fire Marshal's office has done to prepare the local jurisdictions on the process of what to do once we get the maps and adopting them, or if we need to make modifications and make some changes, we can do so. And we said there's a process for that. They've given us toolkits online to be able to mitigate all the different possible scenarios. And then the process of course, putting out to the public, the 30-day comment period, and then going into the adoption and that whole process and presenting it to town council and all that. So I am as soon as we start getting it, I will definitely be letting everybody know. So we're still waiting, but we're hopeful. We're looking, this month, next month.
So I have 2 questions.
Yes.
Are we talking 2025 or was he talking January of maybe 2026 or 20?
No,
Okay.
January 2025. Yes.
My second question is, so if he gets those fire maps out, when do you think so when the fire maps go for your review and public comment, that's when we would see them. What kind of presentation or discussion do we anticipate having? Is it, and MJ, you should be included in this. Is Kim going to present? Do you have someone that you know that you want to have come in and also talk about them? Are we going to have public comment here?
Well, I will put out there that the county, San Mateo County Fire Marshals, we have our organization group. One of the fire marshals, he's been working on trying to get a representative from the state fire marshal's office to come to the county. And we're looking at a venue somewhere in the county that would hold a lot of people to be able to come and ask questions, because We're not the ones creating the map. They're going to have better answers and be better equipped for questions that people may have than we do. We're just going to be given a map and, that's what we have. If there's specific technical or other questions that people may have, we felt that they would be better equipped. So that's trying to get worked on. Whether that would happen, I don't know. We're hoping for it. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. And we will just present the maps, as is. I'm already going down the path that I don't intend on making any modifications or changes to the maps, whatever they are that they give to us, because I'm pretty confident that I don't think anything has gone lower in level. If anything, maybe some areas have become higher in level. And so, but for me, the fact that our ordinance is already in place, that does a lot for us. These maps would more heavily weigh on our safety element, as well as applying fire safe regulations to developments as they come in, not so much what's already in existence. I was sitting on an insurance meeting, and I did bring up the fact that some residents have the fear that insurance companies do look at these maps and categorize homes, and that's how they kind of use that as part of how they assess houses for insurance purposes. And they said that most insurance companies don't, but who knows? So
They have better maps that they've already made, is what I've been told.
that's what they said too.
So
Yeah.
first, if this guy that's organizing a venue wants a schoolhouse that holds this many people, the committee would be happy to host an online recorded session for him to come and take questions on a Zoom link.
Thank you. I
So that's
appreciate
number
that.
one. We'd love that. Flame mappers also said they would come out after the fire maps were released. Do you picture that happening during that comment period or after?
Perhaps after. I do a lot of work currently with Ladris and Flame Mapper. We are still and almost at the end point of having a story map that we can present to the residents that basically shows fire modeling in different areas, given picking 4 areas in Portola Valley, let's say, of scenarios where a fire has started and what it would look like, how would it impact our evacuation route. So we're almost at the end there of something to be able to publicly put out. They are more than happy and willing to come out. As far as when, I'm not sure. And I don't know how much of a I don't know if that would really matter anymore. The only thing that it would show is one thing is because they were boots on the ground and they took really good, the data they collected has been very useful for us for planning and for planning out future scenarios. Because we've been able to use that data for other things, which is what I've been doing, is utilizing that information for other things. So I'm sure they'd be willing to come if we felt that it would be of value, but I'm not sure what we would get at, like what would be the goal of having them come out for what would we want?
The only reason was that at the time, there were residents concerned and they wanted to understand what Flame Mapper reported versus what the fire maps. And if they don't come out, that question will be asked. So for transparency's sake, and because in our meeting, it was promised, it would probably be, I would very much like that to happen.
Okay,
But obviously, we're grateful for any time
sure.
you give us, and it's
Yeah, it's
up to
definitely
you.
something then we can, then that can be under discussion, sure.
so
Yeah, go ahead. So, last year, Kim, I went to the San Mateo County SRA
Mm-hmm.
review. I was the only non-fire person in that room. It was pretty funny. But the thing is that process is really not for like open discussion, right? It's kind of like a town council meeting, right? They won't answer questions. They will only take input. So I think if you wanted the community to sort of embrace these maps, which they'll have to, but to understand them, I think we would benefit a lot more by having a workshop where you guys kind of go through these things. Another thing that's going to be a little bit of a shock for Portola Valley is because the town council never accepted the maps, right,
Mhm.
in 2009 or whatever it was. So I think in a way that's kind of worked for residents' benefit because basically when any software looks at Portola Valley, there's no rating. Okay, there's no very high, there's no high, there's no moderate. It's just gray. And I think when that changes, you know.
And
I-
that's going to be a change because they're already looking at
Yeah,
getting rid of a lot of that zone terminology. They're kind of rebranding
yeah.
that whole thing, which once we know for sure what's coming, then it'll get released, but we know that that change is coming. But
Mm.
this will be just the sake of a map, not so much as how it's going to be enforced. That's all changing.
Yeah,
And
Mm.
maybe we can do something jointly with the EPC so that you don't have to do it twice.
Sure.
I mean,
Yes.
it's something
Mm.
that's easier for you. Okay, so what I'm hearing is in your mind, there's really nothing for this committee to do until March, April, May. That's when everything's going to hit.
Yes.
Okay. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Question, is this what used to be called the Cal fire map?
Well, so what happened is in the public resource code that required the state, which falls under the Office of the State Fire Marshal's office, which is basically Cal Fire. They were tasked with creating maps that would designate this. So, but that is the Cal Fire map, if that's how you looked at it. Yeah.
So thank you, Kim. So does anyone else on the committee for agenda have anything they'd want to be on the agenda before April? Because we had talked about doing our meetings quarterly until we have data and relevant things to discuss. And it sounds like starting in about April, we may have a couple of meetings, so you should keep your schedules clear for this Wednesday, I don't know, what is it, the third Wednesday of every month, just in case something comes up. But I don't see any purpose to have a meeting for no reason.
Yeah.
So let's say we're going to meet next April on our regular day. I don't know what it is. The third Wednesday. And that at that time, the fire marshal will definitely at least do her presentation on, the LA wildfire, and you never know, the 16th. And everyone's in town, right? Okay. But MJ and Wanda, will you be in town? So,
Yeah.
so oh, yeah. Right. So we'll have a quorum. Why don't we plan on that?
okay, so the next meeting is April 16th.
16th.
16.
Yes, and that way I'll release the schoolhouse to anybody else that wants to use it. Are there any
Okay.
questions about that conversation? No? Okay. Quorum check, set the date for the next meeting. Okay, adjournment. Do I have a motion? Second?
Oh, second.
Show of hands. Everyone voted to. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Kind of.
Oh,